Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at N. No, not that N, unfortunately. Well, let's just say that really did define the format for quite a long time. No, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a new N card. It's called N's Preparation, and our translation here comes from lovely Joe over at sarahb.net. Now, I will tell you that we've actually mentioned this card briefly when looking at Reshiram and Zekrom Tag Team GX. But it's not a card that is just for Reshiram and Zekrom. I think it had to be mentioned with Reshiram and Zekrom, but I do think it's worth having a look at on its own, so it gets its own video. And it is a possible answer to the question, wait, how do we make Dragon decks actually work? So what does it do? Well, what you do is you discard the top 6 cards of your deck and attach as many basic energy as you discard to one of your Dragon Pokemon in play. Dragon Pokemon are awkward, ladies and gentlemen. Dragon Pokemon kind of suck in terms of the energy cost. I mean, if we have a look, let's just focus purely on Dragonite. Now, back in Sun and Moon, we had the Dragonite which attacked for a grass and a lightning energy. That was kind of annoying. Now, Dragonite has since changed its colours, and now Dragonite, as we can see from the one in Team Up, attacks for water and lightning. And that's fairly standard now, that's what Dragonite does. So Dragonite's kind of annoying. Now, back when we had Sun and Moon Dragonite, we were at the tail end of the Double Dragon age. And Double Dragon energy was wonderful. Double Dragon energy was a special energy that you could attach to Dragon Pokemon, and it would provide any 2 energy. Kind of like a double rainbow energy, but only for Dragon Pokemon. And it worked. It legitimately worked. One deck which was really, really good back then was Giratina EX. So you'd use a double dragon energy and a double colorless energy, and all of a sudden Giratina's attack cost of Grass Psychic double colorless was actually viable. Other people played it with Xerneas, and that also worked. Xerneas to get the Fairy energy out, and then double Dragon to do the Grass and Psychic. Fairy was just doing the colorless. And that was good, and Dragon decks were actually a little bit viable, and they saw a little bit of play, and people did alright with them, and then double Dragon energy went away. And nowadays we've got Zinnia. Zinnia's just not good enough. And we know Zinnia's not good enough, because Zinnia came out in Dragon Majesty. Dragon Majesty was a while ago, and Zinnia sees basically no play. Like, no play at all. If Zinnia was going to be good, Zinnia would be good. And it's not, so it's not. So now we end up with N's Preparation. And there's a very large downside right off the bat. You're discarding the top 6 cards of your deck. Now the good news is any of them that end up as basic energy, they get attached to your Pokemon, and that's wonderful. The bad news is everything else gets discarded. And we don't have special charge at the moment, so if you hit any special energy, yeah, they're gone. And if you hit supporters, maybe you've got Pow Pad, but then again, maybe you don't. Or maybe you end up discarding your Pow Pad, and then they're gone. If you hit Pokemon, nowadays we've lost Rescue Stretcher, so you're relying on maybe hitting that one Brock's Grit that's in your deck, otherwise those Pokemon are gone. And don't even get me started on item cards. We haven't had a good way to get item cards back since Puzzle of Time rotated. And sure, you can always play stuff like Oranguru from Ultra Prism, or the Excadrill that's going to be in Unified Minds, which can recover anything. But then you're using attacks to recover, and then it gets just awkward. Just really, really awkward. And that's the potential huge downside we're running into here. This is a very risky supporter. But then again, if you're relying on Rare Candy, and you know you've got all 4 Rare Candy in a deck of 25 cards, don't play N's Preparation. It's probably gonna go wrong. But if you've got your Pow Pad in hand, and the only thing you're really worried about accidentally discarding is supporters, but you know you can just immediately play your Pow Pad, then go for it, go nuts, it doesn't really matter. That's the point I'm trying to make with N's Preparation here. Yes, you could accidentally discard stuff you don't want to, but it's not a big deal as long as you prepare for it. So now let's stop focusing on the downside and let's start focusing on the upside. You can actually get your energy back for Dragon Pokemon. You can get energy onto Dragon Pokemon fast enough that Dragon Pokemon all of a sudden become viable, and that's wonderful. Now, something like Reshiram and Zekrom, you've got to play this. Because the GX attack for Reshiram and Zekrom does 170 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Unless, of course, you played End's Preparation this turn, in which case you do 170 damage to two of your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, that's good enough that you are definitely going to be playing some End's Preparation in this deck. And incidentally, it is bench Pokemon only, and also incidentally, this is going to see play. Maybe you just play it with stuff like Welder and Tapu Koko Prism Star, or maybe you just play it with Naganadel instead of playing Blacephalon. Either way, it is definitely going to see play. This is going to be a great card. I'm convinced it's going to be winning tournaments. And End's Preparation in this deck is going to be great, because you can play a whole bunch of energy, and the main attack here does 90 damage for each energy you discard off of your Pokemon up to a maximum of 3. So you really need to be getting 3 energy per turn, but you can attach 1 from your hand, so really we're looking at 2. And if you're discarding the top 6 cards of your deck, yeah, you're probably going to hit a couple energy if you put enough energy in your deck. So for a deck like this, it's going to be great. And the wonderful, wonderful thing about this is that if you're really relying on this, and this is your main attacker, then all you need to do is get a couple of these, Reshiram and Zekrom on your bench nice and early, and you can basically just end Resolve with Abandon, because it doesn't matter. You don't need anything else. You can pile enough energy on there to just smash and win. And that's awesome. You're attacking of a basic Pokemon, and once you've got that basic Pokemon down, all you need is energy, so it doesn't really matter what else you discard. In that regard, it's going to be amazing. But what about something like the new Dragonite GX? Now, I'm a huge fan of the new Dragonite GX. It does 270 for 5 energy, discarding 3 of them. Now, I'm a huge fan here of using triple acceleration energy, and then you've got stuff like Welder or like Tapu Koko Prism Star or maybe even Malamar to get those other 2 energy to get up and rolling fast enough. I think Dragonite GX is going to be a phenomenal card, but it's a stage 2. And being a stage 2 is super awkward. Not only is being a stage 2 super awkward, but it means you're relying on getting the basic, getting rare candy, getting the stage 2, etc. And that's where we get slightly worried about End's Preparation here. Because now all of a sudden, you end up discarding the rare candy or one of the Pokemon before you're ready. And sure, we've got the other Dragonite GX that lets you put a couple of Dragon Pokemon from your discard pile directly onto your bench. So maybe if you've got one of those Dragon Pokemon out, then it doesn't matter so much. And yeah, you've always got Lance Prism Star, which again, after a KO, lets you search your deck rather than your discard for 2 Dragon Pokemon, put them straight onto the bench. In both cases, we're talking any Dragon Pokemon, not necessarily a basic, straight onto the bench. So, essentially, End's Preparation here is great in terms of energy acceleration. It is, there's no argument there. I am 100% on board with the fact that this is good in terms of energy acceleration. I like it a lot. However, I am also very clear about the fact that this is risky and it will not fit into every deck. There are going to be plenty of decks where this just doesn't work, where you're not able to discard that many things, and that's okay. There were some decks back in the day that didn't like Juniper, because they couldn't afford to discard too much from their hand, and then Professor Sycamore, because they couldn't afford to discard too much from their hand, although admittedly they were much rarer than decks that won't want to play End's Preparation. If you're playing a Dragon deck, especially a basic one, and you can afford the odd awkward discard, this is the best energy acceleration we've had for Dragon Pokemon in a long time. This is a bazillion times better than Zinnia, and it will make some Dragon decks viable that otherwise would not be. But it is not without risk, So I leave it up to you to decide whether it's worth it. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. If nothing else, it's going to see a lot of play in Reshiram and Zekrom decks, though I suspect it will go quite a lot further than that. But I'd like to know what you think about this. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourself till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.